Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. The sun out making for a beautiful day, but little relief for flooding across our region.
A temporary emergency closure remains in effect at Cooney State Park, where waters submerged roadways, campsites, parking areas, and boat launches. State authorities say the conditions are dangerous and pose a risk to public health and safety.
Checking with Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire, who's monitoring flood watches and warnings all across our state tonight. Bob.
And right now, there's no rain falling, so you think things would be improving. And
right.
They are a little bit, but let me show you on the Doppler radar, not a drop of rain hardly anywhere except in the southwest corner of the state. But let's move on and show you that we do have a number of flood warnings, basically by Great Falls all the way down towards Sheridan, Wyoming. Let's go up there towards the northwest first. You see, we do have a flood advisory in Teton County. Flooding in the low-lying areas is possible. We're seeing some flooding of the Marias River, the Dearborn River, the Sun River, and also over by Teton River. But most of those have crested, and now they're starting to go down. Meanwhile, while we go down a little farther to the south central part of the state, Muscle Shell River at Shawmut, that's still flooding, but it's still out of its banks by about just a little bit. Flood watch on the Tongue River at Miles City, but it's a flood warning at Bernie. And in Sheridan County, Wyoming, the Tongue River also flooding there, along with the Big and Little Goose Creeks in that area. So the flooding still continues in that area, but things are starting to improve because, well, things are starting to warm up and not much in the way of rain coming our way. We'll have more on that in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, as wildfires continue to ravage parts of Canada, the smoke and haze is filtering into Montana tonight.
Nearly 5,000 people have been forced to evacuate in the area of Alberta, Canada. The early season wildfire reaching more than 200,000 acres burned now. As you may have noticed, smoke from those distant fires now circulating down into our state.
As of tonight, the smoke is up higher in the atmosphere, which means it is not impacting air quality.
A Yellowstone National Park concession employee is recovering tonight after being injured by a cow elk at Mammoth Hot Springs. It happened in what Yellowstone officials say is the developed area of Mammoth around 6:30 this morning. The female employee was taken to a local hospital by ambulance, but a park spokesperson declined to comment on her injuries or condition. However, park officials are taking this time to advise visitors to stay 25 feet away from wildlife, as elk calves are often bedded near buildings and vehicles. Wildlife biologists hazed the cow elk out of the area where it was reunited with its calf.
A month ago, Governor Steve Bullock vetoed a bill that changed the definition of wild bison here in Montana.
And now Secretary of State Corey Stapleton says that veto doesn't count and that bill has become law. Stapleton announced his decision Wednesday on Twitter, but Governor Bullock's office says Stapleton's interpretation of the law is wrong and that the veto properly killed the bill. Bullock clearly vetoed the bill within 10 days of receiving it as required by law. His April 29th veto message says the bison definition contained in House Bill 132 would threaten bison hunts and create confusion in bison management.
But Stapleton says today the veto notification was not officially returned to his office until well past a 10-day deadline, and therefore the bill is now law. Now, Bullock's office says no such 10-day requirement exists for a veto notice delivery. In the words of Bullock's press secretary, the law is clear on our side. The governor vetoed the bill.
Now, what's not clear is how this dispute will be settled if neither side changes their respective position.
Well, bargain direct flights from Denver to Billings and back take off tomorrow, but it's too late to jump on board. Frontier Airlines will land its first flight from Denver tomorrow afternoon right here, and then turn around about an hour later and celebrate another full flight of at least 180 passengers headed back to the Mile High City. Now, right now, the direct Frontier flights are scheduled for Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Billings Logan International Airport announced the new year-round flight in January, calling it a win-win for the airlines and the community.
You will soon be paying more for water and sewer service in Billings. Last night, Billings City Council voted unanimously to hike rates beginning on July 1st. The average single-family home would see an increase of $2.80 per month on their water bill and an increase of 78 cents per month on their wastewater bill. On July 1st of 2020, the average single-family home would see an additional increase of $1.82 per month on their water bill and an average increase of 65 cents per month on their wastewater bill. Businesses will be hit with about a 3% increase on their water bills, and high-strength commercial businesses will see their wastewater rate go up 24% this year. The rate increase will also cover costs to finish a new wastewater treatment facility in the Heights, as well as the construction of the water reservoir and treatment plant on the city's west end.
Well, a second water treatment plant is now being proposed in Butte to help reduce the level of water in the Berkeley pit in the event of an emergency. The Atlantic Richfield Company intends to build the new plant off of Shields Avenue. It would pull more toxic water from the pit if there is ever a breach in the dam that holds water in the tailings pond. This new plant would prevent the pit from overflowing.
And that is to build a redundant water treatment plant for the Berkeley pit that would be used to draw the water in the pit down in the highly unlikely event there was ever a dam breach.
If the Environmental Protection Agency approves the project, the new plant could be ready by 2021.
Well, business owners, experts, and state leaders met in Helena today to discuss challenges working parents face in finding affordable child care.
The Montana Department of Labor and Industry says Montana ranks 40th in the nation for dependable child care. And right now, there are only enough child care resources to meet 40% of the state demand.
Child Care Solutions to Support Your Workforce Summit looked at Montana's early childhood system, the economic impact and opportunity, and also its successful efforts from businesses in Montana and other states.
We know that having access to high quality childcare is really important to parents and families so that their kids can get a great start in life. But we also know that with workforce participation rates higher than ever and unemployment as low as ever, we really need for employers to be able to have access to those employees, and when they have to leave the workforce because of the cost of childcare or because they can't afford childcare, that's a detriment to our economies.
Help is available for those in need of child care through the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services.
Well, more than 30 local, state, and federal government agencies gathered at the Northern Hotel for GovMatch 2019 today.
GovMatch is intended to help businesses explore and be educated about opportunities for government contracts. Montana Procurement Technical Assistance Center helps companies pursue government contracting goals. Business and government agencies such as NASA, Boeing, the BIA, and several Department of Interior agencies attended. Now, those organizations do a lot of subcontracting as well as requiring goods and services.
Each year, federal contracts of up to $700 million go to Montana companies. GovMatch aims at increasing that amount even further, teaching local and state agencies to benefit from the marketplace, and fosters buying and selling relationships for the future.
It helps our economy. You know, if our companies in Montana, if we can home grow our own businesses, then, you know, this is another customer segment for our companies. And don't think it doesn't mean your company, because it probably does. That's where we come in. That's what we can help you kind of figure out where you fit in the spectrum of government contracting.
And for a full list of statewide PTAC centers as well as participating businesses, you can visit bigskyeda.org.
Well, coming up on tonight's 5:30 News, it's a man in his kayak and a river runs through his message to get more people connected on the river.
And later in sports, it's officially All-Star season. We check in with the 6-man teams in Custer with the champions still in blue.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.